Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Elite City Podcast. We have a two-man booth tonight. It's me and good old Rick. And what's going on, sir?
Not much. I just want to say that it wasn't on purpose to follow up the all women show with a no women show. That's just how it worked out. We weren't just like, well, that's enough of that. Like,
yes,
we didn't. That's just how it worked out. This was not done on purpose. This isn't like we had our one women segment of the night, so we're gonna move on.
that wasn't our 920.
That's right. So we're recording around 9:20, but that's unrelated.
Unrelated. It's very true. But yeah, the ladies did a heck of a job last week. It did amazing numbers, and we're gonna continue it. So stay tuned. We'll let you know when we hammer out the semantics on it. So, but stay tuned. This week was interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, this Dynamite ruled. It was a great episode. It was one. I was thinking, like, is it the best episode in the last, like, I don't know, 6 months, 8 months? Like, it was the best episode in a while, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree to that. Yeah, I'd agree to that 100%. And boy, did it open with a banger. Swerve and Hangman. Well, just first off, I want your genuine reaction. What did you think of the draw?
I kind of expected it, but AEW always does a good job at making you forget about the draw. Like when they first mentioned the match, I was like, oh, it's probably going to be something where they end up in a triple threat match.
Yeah.
But then I forgot about that as the match was ongoing. The one time they just said 5 minutes remaining, that kind of like reminded me, oh yeah, it could go to a draw.
That's when it got me, when they made that specific, because like even Excalibur's like, oh, did you see Paul Turner made the 5 minute sign? I was like, what? Like,
yeah.
No, that didn't happen.
5 minute sign.
Yeah. Like just say, hey, there's 5 minutes left in the 20-minute match or whatever it was.
The only thing I thought was weird was that they said Swerve was ranked 1 and Hangman was ranked 2 because Swerve had wins over Hangman, but didn't the rankings only start in 2024?
Right. Yes.
That was a little weird. They could have just made something up about like quality of competition. Like he beat someone who had a higher ranking or something. They didn't need to throw that in there.
Right. Or it's like pro wrestling. Like just like nobody would technically question that.
Right. They could have just not mentioned it at all.
Right. You know, it's like, wait a minute, your team's 0-35 and you're in first? Like what?
Yeah.
What? Like, no, it's like it's pro wrestling.
Right.
We would just be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. This is
the draw made sense. I liked it.
I enjoyed it. But like I said, I when they gave the hint like, oh, there's 5 minutes left, I was like, oh, it's probably going to be a draw. I kind of wish they wouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
But I liked how they did it, because then they were like, oh, here comes the overtime, and then Hangman was like, nope.
Yeah.
I thought
now do you think this is just Hangman being paranoid? Like he's mad at, obviously it makes sense that he's mad at Swerve because Swerve tried to attack his house,
right?
But is this Hangman just like being thrown off his game because of Swerve and he's like losing his mind because of Swerve, or is this like the start of a Hangman heel turn?
That's a good question. Well, no, I was going to play it safe and say a little bit of both. No, I'll say full blown heel. I'll say when it's going to be a big heel turn, like eventually, like
this
like
gave
maybe,
me like Bret Hart, Steve Austin vibes, where like Swerve is clearly the bad guy, like
right.
Obviously, and like when Bret and Austin faced each other, like Austin was clearly the bad guy. He like stole a ambulance or something and like beat up his family. Like he's clearly the bad guy, but people just like him so much that
right.
Swerve's gonna end up turning face just because of people think he's cool. And I think they're gonna double turn them. Hangman's gonna turn heel, Swerve's gonna turn face.
Well, I wrote this down during the show, and do you think AEW is gonna not get rid of, but go back towards there's not heels and faces anymore? Everybody's kind of a little bit in the gray area. Like now that Punk's gone, and I mean
that would be cool. There needs to be some kind of even in like the Attitude Era, there was like when there was no heels and no faces, they kind of you leaned one way or the other, right? Like
that's what I mean. Like keep it like what Christian's doing. Like people like, but it's not like full blown heel. Like
And I was thinking that Swerve, at least in my opinion, Swerve feels kind of like a Stone Cold in 1997 character to me. Like he's clearly a bad guy. He does bad stuff. Like,
but he's just so damn cool.
But he's just so cool that everyone cheers for him.
Yeah.
Like he hits people with bricks and and attacks people's families and like he broke Dustin's ankle and everyone still cheered for him. I think he's just like
That's true.
He transcends like heel face. He could just be such a horrible person and still get cheered.
It is that it's like the MJF factor. Like Swerve is I mean, he hasn't done it with the crowd yet, but he's going to give one of those promos where he's either going to be starting off booed and by the end have them cheering, or start them off cheering and by the end have them booing. Like, good point. He's going to, Oh, that's awesome. This, I wrote it down specifically. I'm going to start keeping track. As of, this is my first on the list for match of the year.
Yeah, it was a great match. They have like a really good chemistry with each other. Like everything they do, is just good.
And I know it's pro wrestling, and they are like hitting each other per se, but it looks so. If somebody didn't know what pro wrestling was and you showed that to them, they're like, "Oh, those two men are fighting." Like it looks legit. And I'm not trying to take it away, being like, but they know how to fall. Like, not that. It's, I know they're really getting hurt, but it's done very well.
Yeah, definitely. Now, I was thinking what they should have done was have, how Swerve this whole time has been talking about how he wants to win the AEW title. They should have had him win the title shot and then just like give it away to someone unrelated to the thing, and then change his mind and be like, no, I'm taking it back.
Yes.
Because then the internet would say that it's cinema.
I mean, that makes perfect sense what you just said.
I mean, if you're going to spend a really long time talking about how you want to become champion, once you finally have that chance, you should just immediately let someone else have it. And then just change your mind.
Right. No questions asked. Like, they didn't even ask for it. Just willingly hand it over.
Yeah, that's what they should have done. Swerve should have just been, hey, I'm going to give this match to, Evil Uno. And then been like, you know what? I'm not. Would have worked out fine.
And that would be awesome. I mean, Emmy worth.
Yes,
Emmy worthy.
We would be giving them Emmys for sure.
Oh, that's incredible. That's cinema. I love that one. I love the phrase.
But this match was great. Yeah.
Yes.
All jokes aside, everything about it was great. I loved Hangman like just refusing the 5 minutes because he doesn't have to.
Yeah.
I even liked when people were saying, "Oh, but Hangman was yelling, oh, you have to beat me to become number one contender," and people were like, "Well, no, he doesn't." I'm like, "No, he doesn't have to." But in Hangman's eyes, he does. Right? Like that's not an official statement. That's just Hangman feels that way, and that it was great because Swerve never actually beat him clean, so he still has some sort of bragging rights of, "You never beat me clean in a one-on-one match," but Swerve has the bragging rights of, "No, but I beat you badly so many times." It's great. I love this feud.
Well, do you think Swerve pins Joe and then you automatically, the next feud is Hangman Swerve again, and then
I don't know where they're gonna go. That would be great if they did that, and then he would finally get to beat him in a real
clean, for the title, clean, no questions asked. Maybe that's the big turn. That's the full face turn for Swerve and the full heel turn for Hangman.
Yeah, that could be it. That'd be cool.
And that could drag it out.
I want to see where it goes.
Speaking
I also really love Joe's reaction of like, "Oh yeah, this is perfect. This is great. Nice job." Like he was just like, "This this is fair." It was great.
Joe, you could say what you want about Joe when he was in WWE, but when they gave him the headset, he must have paid a lot of attention. Excuse me. He's very good at the commentary desk. Like he's a good promo, but he knows, excuse the pun, he knows his role on what he's supposed to do. And him being a heel character, he plays to the heel commentator. He'll blatantly talk over when the face is doing something awesome. The little nuances, he must have paid a lot of attention to whoever the commentary coach is at WWE.
Yeah, for sure. I agree.
And speaking of, can't wait to see where it goes. The women's title match, or excuse me, was it a title match or was it an
It was
one
a
of the
eliminator match.
Okay, I wrote it down wrong. Okay, so it was an eliminator match. Toni Storm versus Red Velvet. Red Velvet is a great wrestler. She needs a new character. I don't like the stirred up thing. It's my only complaint.
I liked it a couple weeks ago when she played it more heelish.
Yes.
This week she wasn't the heel because she was facing Tony, and it's dull when she's a face. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah, same here. But like this match was awesome.
She's a great wrestler. You're right. She needs a new character.
Deonna, great on commentary.
Better than I expected. I never pictured her as never thought of her as someone who's, a great speaker. She's a great wrestler, obviously, but I didn't think that she did a great job on commentary.
And like, I want to say opposite of Tony, as in, like, of course she's not going to go out there and tell like the outdated jokes, but like she played it down the middle. Like there was no heel face, she was like even questioning who Toni Storm is still. Like it was really well done for, I don't want to say her character. I'm going to use air quotes because she's herself, but dialed up to 11 or whatever.
Yeah. And she kind of, she both praised Tony and Red Velvet. She was the face, right? Oh yeah. Tony's a great competitor. I'm going to take her title. Not like she sucks.
Right.
Great.
And how did she walk in those, I guess you want to call them shoes? Those things were, I was like, okay, she's 100% going to break her ankle. She's going to fall. She's like, those were gnarly. Like,
did you see that? Speaking of breaking ankles, did you see Toni Storm named her move afterwards?
Oh yeah. What was it called?
She named it break a leg.
Oh,
which I thought was great.
That is, yeah. I saw that on Instagram this morning.
Yeah, she's great. This is one of the better. I don't want to classify it as this is one of the better women's feuds to say that it's a good feud on its own. But like AEW hasn't been known for its women's feuds in recent memory.
Right.
So this is one of the best ones they've had in a very long time.
And the way that they're handling it is so like Toni Storm is in character and just refuses to break. It's so good.
Yeah. How does she not break? I don't know. Like her and like Orange Cassidy. I don't know how they don't break character sometimes.
Oh, no. See, I need to see them together for some reason.
Yeah, that would be fun.
That would just be hilarious.
She'd be like ranting about something. He'd be like, okay, whatever. It'd be good. It'd be good.
Oh,
yeah, but she doesn't break character. I don't know because she's hilarious.
Right.
And someone even said, how does she come up with like when she's on commentary? She wasn't on this week, but like when she's on commentary, does she come up with these weird, obscure references like beforehand and then just remember them? Like she seems very prepared.
Yeah, she does. Maybe they're feeding her something from maybe she has notes like, hey, at some point say A, B, or C to trigger,
Yeah.
Oh, she's so good.
She's so good.
So they made it official. It is Deonna versus Toni for the title at Revolution. Revolution is really starting to come along.
I think it's pronounced Revolution, actually.
Revolution, as the French would say. See that?
Toni Storm. That's what Toni Storm calls it.
I know, but she's not French though.
No, her even her accent is great. Sometimes it's French, sometimes it's British. Like it's not like
it's pronounced souple. It's a Gordon Sully reference, by the way.
Is it?
Yes.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. I don't know if he did it all the time, but he would say souple.
Oh, nice. I didn't even know that.
Mm-hmm. That was very.
That makes it even better.
It's terrible that I knew that. I'm gonna make fun of myself on that one. I was like, oh, I get that. That's Gordon Sully. And I was like, oh, I'm probably the only person watching that gets that, unless Jim Ross added on.
You and Jim Ross, yeah.
Me and Jim Ross got a good chuckle out of that one. Tony Schiavone probably understood it.
Yeah.
3 people.
And Tony Khan, because he's like a giant. Yeah. He's watched every wrestling that's ever been made.
Even ones that don't even exist yet.
Yes.
He's into some backyarder right now that he's like, kid's 13 in 10 years.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was like at a backyard wrestling show right now, just to, like with him and like the guy's parents just watching. I would not be surprised at all. Like, there's this guy in Wisconsin who has a backyard wrestling federation. You have to go to it.
Has his coffee. He just shows up. This random suburban home.
Yeah. Everyone's like, "What are you doing here?" He's like, "I gotta watch this match. I heard this kid's good."
Yeah. I'm here for Rumble in the Snow. Jeez, why are you here? They're like, the what and the what? In your backyard. Rumble in the Snow. Jeez.
That's great.
That's incredible. Speaking of incredible, we had the Blackpool Combat Club versus the CMLL crew of, Henchicero. I got them all. Henchicero, Volador Jr., and Mascara Dorada.
Nice.
Thank you. Henchicero is my new favorite thing, and I want to see him and Danielson wrestle continually.
Yeah, that's fun. They're good together.
This whole match was awesome. The one luchador without the mask, did he not look like the Hitman circa like 1998?
Yeah, you're right.
Like in this, like looked like him.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's
now, what do you think of this CMLL feud?
It boggles my mind because there's AAA champions in AEW, and those two like companies hate each other,
right?
But for some reason get along really well in the back.
Yeah, it's weird that they're like even allowing this, because there wasn't it Forbidden Door that they wouldn't allow anyone who worked with, I forget which one it was. Either I think CMLL wouldn't allow anyone who worked with like the Lucha Bros. Anyone who worked with AAA, they wouldn't allow them to be on the show because CMLL is like a New Japan partner or something. So they didn't allow it. Yeah, so it's surprising that they're allowing this. Well, I like the wrestling in this feud. Like, the wrestling's obviously good. Like, they're great. I don't really care if that's weird. If that's like, if that makes any sense. Like, because I don't know really who these guys are, right? I've seen them twice. I mean, it's nice that they're going to teach you who they are, I'm assuming.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I have a theory.
Yeah, but like at this point, it just seems like this is just something Mox and Danielson wanted to do. So they're like, yeah, you could wrestle these guys from CMLL because that's just what they wanted. It doesn't seem, I don't know. It's a little odd to me. It's a little odd to me too when like the AEW locker room keeps coming out. They're like, oh, they're defending AEW. I'm like, from what, 4 guys? Like, no, they don't need to. Yeah, the wrestling's great. And I don't know where it's going.
Well, this is my theory. I have nothing to back this up other than when I was watching the show, I thought of this. This reminds me of when they slowly brought the New Japan people over before Forbidden Door.
Right.
I think we're going to see another company added to Forbidden Door and possibly it be CMLL. Like, there's a reason why all these people are coming. Like, they just, like I said, they just kind of did the same thing. Like, oh, Will Ospreay showed up, and then like they kind of sprinkled those people in to say, like, hey, pay attention to who this is. Yeah, and if you don't know, I have a feeling Tony Khan worked some magic and maybe ironed out that deal where those two companies didn't get along. Yeah, and there's going to be, I think Forbidden Door is going to I think that is the equivalent of our WrestleMania.
Yeah, the only thing it's weird for me, like not weird, strange for me is that there's like AEW's roster is obviously huge. Right. It's odd that they're choosing to put these guys who don't work for them on TV and not guys who do work for them. It's like, yeah, you're right. There has to be a reason for it, because why else would they be like, oh, we have limited TV time. We're going to bring on some guys from a different company onto our show. Right.
Exactly.
If there wasn't a long-term plan here. Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, I didn't read rumors. I have, 0% of anything to back that up other than like there has to be, rhyme for reason. Like they're there for something.
That does make sense.
So yeah, that's where my head went. Like, okay, Forbidden Door isn't that Forbidden Door isn't that far off. It's in June. I mean, yes, it's February, but you start, not Forbidden Door. Oh yeah, Forbidden Door is in June. You like in April, you're going to start really pushing for Forbidden Door.
Right.
So, get them on TV now, and then, maybe they don't come back until April, but when they do, you could be like, oh, that's Henchicero.
Yeah, that's true.
People will know, like.
Now, do you think it'll be Forbidden Door? Or do you think they're doing they're going to do another like a show in Mexico? Because Mox mentioned, oh, do you want to have a match in Arena Mexico? Like, are they? That's what I thought, that there's going to be like an AEW Mexican show.
I mean, why
they're going to have these guys on it?
Why not? Or maybe even, I just thought of this right now, maybe Forbidden Door 2025 is in Mexico.
Yeah, that's true too.
Get all these people here now and, sprinkle them in, oh, wow. There a lot of things can happen, but I would take an AEW show in Mexico. I think that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
I also, leading into the next segment, we're just going to touch lightly on it, but I have another theory.
All right.
and again, nothing to back it up.
All right.
The Undisputed Kingdom attacked Chuck Taylor backstage, and a lot of people weren't happy with this. They just said it didn't make any sense. Blah blah.
Yeah, I thought it was weird. I wasn't unhappy with it. I just thought it was out of nowhere, kind of.
Well, this is where my wrestling brain went. I think this is foreshadowing and a setup of Okada and Chaos.
That would make sense. Yeah.
I mean, all of Best Friends are in Chaos. Rocky Romero is there every week now for some reason. It would make a whole lot of sense if this big, huge faction who, there's more of them than there are Best Friends. You know what I mean?
That would make sense. Yeah.
Okada comes in.
It was strange, and it was no offense to Best Friends, but
but
Undisputed
who's Chuck
Kingdom.
Taylor?
Yeah, Chuck Taylor. Undisputed Kingdom is they were a main event angle, right? They were involved with MJF in the world title. It seems weird for them to be now attacking Chuck. Why Chuck Taylor? He's not anywhere on their radar. It was odd.
Exactly. That's what I was saying a second ago. Who's Chuck Taylor?
Yeah.
Not we know who he is, but yeah, if you're going to attack somebody, there's
why Chuck Taylor?
Why Chuck Taylor?
It's not even they have a title, right? If they had if they were attacked Orange Cassidy, you'd be like, okay, at least they maybe want the international title, right? That would make sense. But yeah, Chuck Taylor doesn't have really anything, and Roddy Strong already basically has his match against Orange Cassidy, so it's not like they were attacking him to try to convince Orange Cassidy to put up his title. They already have that match. So yeah, you're right. There must be something more to it.
And then that's that's all I had to say on this segment. But I think AEW rarely does, especially backstage things, for no reason.
That's true.
Even when MJF was attacked by Joe, and Joe found it, or however they had it, Joe paid to have him jumped or whatever. They let that go for a month before they explained it, and then they explained it.
Right.
So.
That's
yeah. So I don't know. That was just my little thing. We had a fan question this week.
Yes.
And like a professional, I even wrote it down. So it's not like I read this random thing on the internet. Sorry, but no, we have proof. We have Arnold Booker from Mastodon, who asked us, what is AEW's biggest weakness right now?
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You go.
All right. I've kind of touched on this before, and it's hard to say. It's hard to explain. I think the lack of consistency throughout AEW, and that I'm not trying to say that I want it to be more the same, because I really like that every match is different. I like that there's a lucha match followed by a hardcore match followed by a technical match. I'm not saying I want the matches to be more similar. Right. I'm saying where they'll repeat spots 3 times in one night, and by the time you're on your third match, you've seen a guy. I've talked about the biting before,
right?
When you've seen a guy get bit before, you this is the 4th guy who's gone through a table.
Right.
It kind of takes away from things.
Yeah.
I watched a YouTube video. Maven from WWE, who used to be in WWE, has a YouTube channel, and he did a thing today on. I didn't watch all of it, but it was things wrestlers are told not to do. And when he was in WWE, one of the things that they told them, if you're on the first, second, or third match of the card, don't do any crazy high spots, because they might come up later,
right?
And you don't want to take away from if you do a suicide dive into the crowd, on the second match, and then they were going to do that in the main event, and now that takes away from the main event. I'm not saying they shouldn't do high spots early in the show because that gets the crowd interested.
Right.
I'm just saying they shouldn't like repeat spots. If you're going to put someone through a table, they should tell everyone else on the show, okay, this guy's going through a table in the fourth match. Let's not do any table spots because it's going to lose it. It's going to lose the feeling of that. I think that's I think is their biggest flaw, in my opinion, is that it doesn't feel consistent, and like it doesn't feel consistent with like the rules of things too. Like we've talked about last week, or I think it was last week, where like they didn't know the rules to that cage match.
No, the cage match, yeah.
Yeah. They didn't really like, was it elimination? Yeah, but how so? Like they didn't, and I don't think anyone knew. Like I feel like they have to have someone who keeps track of all this stuff, who keeps track of all the spots, who keeps track of all the rules of the matches. It sounds dumb to say, but it's like overarching thing to kind of make it a bit more consistent.
And I mean, you those are great points. And do you think they kind of have that because like they're still establishing things, like we don't know the rules for things because it might have been, or not the first time, but like these matches haven't been on TV since like the 70s, a lot of them. Like the way the rules go.
It's wrestling, right? So you can always change. Like I understand that like when they announce 5 minutes remaining in the match, like they don't announce that in every match. So like
I
get that's how wrestling works. Sometimes you change the match to suit the situation that you're in. That's fine. But I just think they should be telling you in advance if it's going to be a pinfall or submission match, or if it's going to, like, they should be telling that sort of stuff where it seems like that's like they're missing a overarching producer. Like Tony Khan writes the shows, but then someone should be reading through it after, because Tony Khan in his mind probably knows the rules of the match. But there has to be another person who's like, wait, you didn't actually explain that. You know it, and the wrestlers in the match know it, but you didn't tell everybody else that. Like, I think they're missing a layer underneath Tony Khan, who goes over the whole card and is like, oh, wait, you can't do this because we're doing this same thing later in the show. Or, oh, you can't do this because we didn't explain that that's the consequences of that other thing that happened. Like, they need someone who goes through and makes the show a bit more consistent.
I agree with that perfectly. Do you think that's what's the guy that they just fired at TNA, Scott D'Amore?
I mean, that would be great. When I heard that he was gone, and unless it's for like unsavory reasons, I don't think it was. I feel like
right.
I feel like it was like a business power play, like it was a typical business thing. It wasn't like for anything bad anyone did.
Yeah.
When he first got let go, my first thought was he should book ROH.
Yeah,
because he booked TNA, which is somehow like, if you had told people 10 years ago that TNA would still be a company,
right?
No offense to TNA, but like it was not doing well for a while there, and he kind of stabilized it and made it a company that people like. It's an entertaining show, right? So if he can do that with TNA, he could probably do something similar with ROH. And I think that's, if we're going to go to a second flaw, I'd say that's their other flaw, is ROH doesn't really have a thing. Like, what is ROH? Is it a separate company? Because if it's a separate company, why is Eddie Kingston on Dynamite if it's a separate company? And if it's part of AEW, then why aren't people going back and forth all the time? You know what I mean? Like Samoa Joe can go back and forth as champion, but why can't Athena? Like that sort of thing needs to be, that kind of, it lumps it into my first point. It just, they've never really explained what ROH is.
That's
they
true
don't really explain a lot of things. Like that, I don't know. It sounds like nitpicking, and it kind of is nitpicking because I like the AEW shows. I think they're generally good. But that's the first thing that I thought of when the question was asked, is just consistency and explaining stuff.
And that's perfect. And we didn't step on each other either. Mine's totally different. So
all right.
Excuse me. Mine is right now. I mean, the numbers don't lie. It's attendance and live attendance. I mean, they're getting good ratings. They're getting bomb review, like good review. Bomb is in, I just dated myself. I used the 90s term. Jesus Christ.
Man, those ratings are to bomb, man.
Yeah. I like, what was I thinking? I haven't said that in like 25 years. Anyways, they're getting great ratings on like social media. Like people are loving all the shows, but the live crowd, and again, I said this a couple weeks ago, I think it's oversaturation. Like they're doing it again in like where they're I think they're going to Texas or Oklahoma, like, and it's
somewhere they're doing Dynamite and Collision in the same place.
Tuesday and Wednesday night. Like,
yeah.
Why does it have to be there? Like, like send people to New York for a Collision. Like, I think that's the biggest thing.
And the crowd matters. Like, you might think. Sorry to step on your
no, you're fine.
Thing.
Go.
But like, your first thought is like, oh, who cares who goes to the shows as long as the shows are good, right? That's true,
right?
But the crowd matters. If you're in front of 1,000 people versus in front of 10,000 people, it's a different feel.
Yeah, it totally.
Like this week was good. This week the crowd was, I don't know what the numbers were, but like the crowd seemed more full this week.
It definitely did.
Seemed more energetic this week, and that does matter. Like it's not just like a business, like a nitpicky thing. Like the rating of the show doesn't matter. Whether 800,000 people or 1 million people watch doesn't affect the quality of the show, right? To me, watching at home, 10 people could be watching that show, and if it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
But the audience in the building does to an extent.
Oh yeah, I mean, look at the pandemic era. Like they were putting the rookies in the crowd to just make noise.
Right.
Like any noise will do. But yeah, like the oversaturation and like, you know, you were looking at ticket prices. It's not cheap.
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about it later, but the show that they have coming up in Boston, like when the tickets have been going really, really well, and obviously it's a big show, so that makes sense. But also, they were saying like tickets range between $25 and $55 or something. Like that's good. Like that's probably pretty low price for a live event. Whereas I've said before, like the Dynamite that's happening here is, I'll probably still end up going. But the Dynamite that's here is like $90 or something for the worst tickets. Whereas like the last time they were here, it was $30 for the worst tickets. Like that's triple the price. And
that's nuts.
And if that's going to be, and I think that's part of the reason it's a problem, because if you're going, your whole family, 4 you are going, and it's $100 each, that's $400 just to go to Dynamite, right? Like and then they're doing Collision in the same building the next day. Like you're not going to go. You're not going to spend $800 on this. Like that's not happening. Right.
I was thinking, me and you. Well, more you. I was a fan, but you used to work for another blog, the Pens blog. And do you think they should maybe take a page out of the Penguins book and start something like a student rush? Because the Pens lock those fans in who are now our age, who are now season ticket holders.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
I mean, you go to college towns.
Right before the shows, they kind of like discount the tickets, right? Like the week of, they drop them half price or whatever, which is fine. But it kind of, you're right. If they hicked you in the first place, like, oh, if you're a student or something, you can get in for cheaper. That would be great, because and students are going to be loud. They're going to be partying. They're going to be drinking.
Exactly.
And
you're going to be running those types of arenas. Like when they're in Pittsburgh, it's a college arena on a college campus. So, just flash your college ID. You get in the door for, just make it a set price, $25, best available seats. You and your buddies might not necessarily sit together, but you'll be in the building. I just think if they did something like that, and then you wouldn't realize the amount of fans that they would make just because, a group went because it was on campus that night, And
I mean, AEW shows are fun. So if you went, like, you'd have a great time. Like it's fun to go to them.
Yeah. Like, they pulled in wrestling people that weren't even fans because there was nothing to do. Now they're watching every week on TV,
Right. Yeah.
I think if they pulled a strategy like that, that would do heads and tails better business for them ticket wise.
Apparently, and I don't know who the people's names are, but apparently they have a new person who's in charge of like not booking the arenas, I think, but like who's in charge of like the local promotions when they go places. So maybe that person will fix it. I don't know. But I don't know the specifics of it, but I know that there is a new person that they've hired recently to do something like that. So maybe they will.
Well, that's great news. But speaking of even greater news and attendance, because it's almost sold out, we found out about AEW Big Business which that's our. We were talking about. We haven't had a special edition of Dynamite in a long time.
Yes.
In it's March. What was that? March 15th. It's in
16th,
5 weeks.
16th.
5 weeks.
Now, did you notice they spelled Boston wrong on that poster?
We always have nitpicks with AEW. They're supposed to be professional.
That's right. Boston only has one S, and it's not a dollar sign.
And it's not a dollar sign.
I hope someone got fired for that blunder.
I know. What a great way to do it.
Yeah. And I saw some people who were like, "Oh, Mercedes isn't like, oh, she's not CM Punk. She hasn't been out of business for 7 years or whatever, so she's not going to be as big of a draw as he is." But like, clearly she is, because they've already like sold out their pre-sale. Right. So yeah. And let's be honest, we don't know how this is going to go down, but hypothetically,
a lot of bad WWE news has broke recently, and she was not the happiest person there. Do you give her a live mic and let her say what she wants? Hypothetically.
Yeah, I don't know if they want to even
Exactly.
I don't know. I feel like they would. I feel like they wouldn't even go there. They're just going to be, she's here now. She doesn't need to like tell you why she left WWE or that WWE is bad. Everyone knows. Everyone who knows her knows that she left because she didn't like it there. So I don't know if she needs to actually do that. Like I would give her a mic, but I don't think she has to talk about why she left. I think she just has to move on.
I was thinking about this. If she mentions it, I'm going to pull a reference that you'll understand, but nobody else will get. Remember when X-Pac came back?
Yeah.
And all he said was, if Scotty and Big Kev could be up here right now, they would be.
Right.
Meaning they're locked into contracts and they're getting paid. Trust us, they'll be here eventually.
Right.
I think she'll give like a wink and
that
a
would
nod.
Be good. Just like
a wink to Bailey or something.
A quick little thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if Bailey has a nickname or something, like, or like, hey, hugs are free here or something.
Right.
Like something like that. Like, hey, I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
But I agree. Her presence, I think, will be enough.
Yeah.
Unless she specifically says, hey, I want to air these grievances. Can I do this?
Right. I do think they'll kind of let her do whatever she wants. Like if if she wants to say it, they'll let her, because why not? But
now, next big question for big business: can't have business without money, and the Rainmaker.
There's a lot of dollar signs there.
Yeah, and the Rainmaker is all about that money. Do we see Okada?
I think maybe. I think they might, like I thought they were going to do it at Revolution, but when Tony Khan tweeted that 2024 is the new 2021 or whatever it was, and 2021 was the day when Punk, the same show Punk had his first match, they also debuted both Danielson and Adam Cole. Like they threw all the debuts into one show.
Right.
I could see them doing that again. I thought it was going to happen at Revolution, but that's Sting's last match, so I feel like maybe they're just leaving.
Oh yeah, you won't want to overshadow.
They don't want to overshadow Sting.
Right.
So
I never even thought of that.
Maybe Big Business is going to be like their not a new launch, but this is like, this is the new AEW. Like Ospreay's probably going to be there, and they're going to have Mercedes and Okada showing up would be incredible.
Oh my!
And now I have to pay $90 to see Dynamite the week after.
Right. I mean, you just talked yourself right into that one.
I know.
But I mean, as we're recording here on Friday night, and the pre-sale is 100% sold out, right? Or very close.
I think so, yeah.
And
it's March. I think it's March 13th. Sorry, not
March 13th. Okay.
Yes.
And general tickets
tomorrow.
Tomorrow, so it's gonna sell out.
Yeah, it just depends on what they count as a sellout, right? Because if they are they going to do
right,
like, we're going to sell the lower bowl first, and then once that sells out, we're going to open up the rest of it, or are they just going to open up the whole thing? I don't know what they're going to do, but
right. And I mean, this is a big middle finger to anybody that ever said she wasn't a draw, because just like Punk, they didn't say anything. They left you a little hint. I mean, Darby said, even if you're the best in the world, we all knew that.
I mean, this is a pretty big hint, but it's still a hint.
Right.
It's still not.
It wasn't like, hey, Mercedes Moné will be here in 5 weeks at, I was going to say at 9:20, and I did it unironically because I looked down and it was 9:54.
Nice.
I was literally just going to say 9:20. That would actually be hilarious if that's when she debuted.
Now, on that note, where would you like? It's hard to do. Where would you rank her in terms of like big free agent signings from AEW? Top 10, I'm assuming, but I don't know where specifically.
Right now, I would say she is the biggest. I mean, Danielson and all that, they're big, but they're at the end. Like, she's the first to jump from WWE in her prime.
Yeah, the only ones I thought otherwise were Punk, just because it had been so long that he wrestled.
Right.
And
FTR.
Mox.
And Mox.
Mox, they didn't hype up in advance. Like, he just showed up at the pay-per-view. But True. Mox was another guy who was like, yeah, he's in the prime of his career. And he chose AEW. But yeah, she's up there. She's one of the bigger ones. Like, other than Adam Cole, but that's not actually surprising, though, because Adam Cole was obviously like, he's an indie guy, right? He fits in with AEW. Mercedes is a WWE person. She's basically only been in WWE. Like, she had been in New Japan, but before that, she was a WWE product. She came up in WWE.
Right.
And now she's leaving. Yeah. Or someone like Adam Copeland, but he's older. So that's what I mean. Like, she's like
those guys that their names are big, but Adam Copeland said he has 2.5 years tops. This is Danielson's last full year at full time. Like, this is, she's going to be here for I don't know, at least 3 to 5 years. I mean, Tony Khan's contract seemed to be 3 to 5 years. So like, it's a long time.
And she's going to be like a main event. Like, she's not here to put young talent over.
Right.
She's here to be like their main event.
Yeah.
Top star. So on that note, where do you start her? Does she start at the women's title, or where does she start?
To be perfectly honest with you, like, I would love to see her go right after Julia for the TBS title, to put Julia over.
Yeah.
As in, like, oh, okay, like, yeah, maybe she beats Julia, obviously, but like, hey, I didn't go for the world title. I went after you know what I mean? Like, kind of give the title a little, not that it needs the legitimacy, because, I mean, I don't know. That's what I would do, but obviously she's going to go right to the top. I mean,
I don't know if she goes right. I don't know if she goes right for the world title, because Toni Storm is killing it there right now, and she's over.
True.
But you're right. They're not going to waste their time. Like, the problem they had with Punk, not problem, but when Punk came in, they started him off slow, which makes sense. I mean, he hadn't wrestled in a long time. Right. So they started him off, like, the Darby Allin match was big, but then he had a bunch of matches, no offense to any of these people, but like Hobbs or Eddie Kingston, like, they're not the dream feuds you thought of when you thought of CM Punk coming to AEW. Right. And then obviously it turned out they never got those feuds. They never got another Punk Danielson match. They never got a Punk Kenny Omega match. They never got any of the stuff that you thought you were going to get when he showed up. So I think you're right. They're not going to waste their time with, like, not that anyone in the building is a waste of time, but they're not. They're going to get to the matches people want to see quickly. Yes. And I'm thinking the match at the two places I would start her. She's going to be a face, obviously, but at least at first. But the matches that people want to see are Saraya, just because of their history together.
And I was going to say they're really good friends too, aren't they?
Yeah, and it would make perfect sense. I mean, she's a face, so might not work out properly, but it would make perfect sense for her to come after Willow, because the last time we saw Mercedes, she got hurt.
Oh yeah,
Willow.
Oh yeah, dude, I just had a thought. A wild card for big business. Just imagine everyone's expecting Mercedes or Okada, and Shivani comes out and he was like, and the person we're waiting for, and Jamie Hayter's music hits.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Just like full blown, like, heel. Like, did you forget about me?
Yeah.
And then Mercedes music hits.
Yeah, that would be cool. Her and Mercedes would be cool.
And be like, oh, and who are you? Like, oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah, the women's division now has, before, if you were going to debut a new woman, she kind of had to go after the world title, because it was a small division.
Yes.
But like, now it's going to be, like, she has so many options. Like, I was just thinking when you thought about Jamie Hayter coming back, what if Britt Baker comes back? What if Britt Baker comes out at the beginning of the show and is like, wait a second, you never did this for me. How come I didn't get my own show? And she gets her like, yeah, that could go. There's so many places this could go.
Wow, I like totally forgot. Like, no disrespect to Britt, but like I forgot she hasn't been on TV in so long. Right. Wow,
I agree. Yeah, so did I. But like Mercedes is so good in the ring that any of these matches could be great. Like every single one.
Oh yeah.
Like if she came in and she challenged Toni Storm right away, like I would have absolutely no problem with that because that's perfectly fine.
Did they never wrestled in WWE, huh?
I don't think so.
Because she would have already been on the main roster when Toni Storm would have been in NXT.
Yeah, I think when Toni Storm got called up, they might have been together on the main roster for like a short period of time.
And then I was going to say, and then either she quit or Toni left.
And then Toni left, I think. And then
Sasha that's right. And then they quit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, big business is, well,
it's exciting.
It's exciting, and it's going to be big business, I believe.
And it's going to be two huge. It's going to be two huge shows because Revolution has already sold like 15,000, 16,000 seats or something, and then like this is right after it is going to be another 10, 15,000 people in Boston. So there's going to be two huge shows for
it's because
for all the attendance problems AEW has legitimately had. Like they're going to go back to back with massive shows, so that's going to be really cool.
Massive shows that aren't Chicago, which is big.
Yes.
And
now could Boston be their new Chicago if this works out?
Hopefully.
Like the place where they can go all the time and it's pretty much guaranteed to do well.
Well, I mean, if Mercedes is your, one of the faces of your company, then yeah, because she's going to draw in her hometown.
Yeah.
Just like I always believe Britt could get enough people into whatever the Penguins Arena is called now. I forget.
PPG Paints.
Oh, is that what it is? I thought they changed it. Oh no, they changed the football stadium.
They changed it, the football stadium, to some weird name I can't pronounce.
Accusure Insurance.
Yes.
Anyways, but the WWE had that contract there, so I wonder. That brings up another question. Now that because Pittsburgh couldn't even run UFC shows because of the WWE contract.
Right.
I wonder if that contract is now moot since it's a new company because like what's WWE not going to let their partner UFC run the PPG Paints Arena?
Yeah, I mean there were rumors that they wanted to do like super shows where they'd have a WWE pay-per-view on Saturday and then a UFC pay-per-view on Sunday in the same building back to back. So
they would like, I wonder if those contracts are void now, which if they are, I really hope they run PPG in Pittsburgh because parking's way better. That's the only reason
a lot of the deals they have are like, from what I've heard is that they're like, they can't run in the same building in the same, like there has to be a 3-month buffer or something between the two of them. Or in some of them, they say like, you can't promote your show until their show's already happened. Because like WWE is running another show in TD Garden in like July, so they run that building too. They just must have some sort of deal where it has to be, like a couple months apart, something like that. Yeah. So maybe they can. It's weird they haven't done a bigger building in Pittsburgh because I feel like they could.
Especially like if you like you'd laugh like the Peterson Event Center is literally on a hillside. Like, I mean, you've been to Pittsburgh. Everything's on a hillside. It's legit on a hillside. Like the parking garages are either at the top or bottom, and it's in the center. And you have to walk up or down, depending. And at the end of the night, you either have, if you parked up top, you got to walk down when you got there, but you have to walk up to get back. Now you have to walk up. Yeah. Yeah. It's in the worst possible place. Anyways, moving along. We're gonna hit on Jericho versus Takeshita. All I have to say is it's official. No disrespect, Chris Jericho, but you've lost a step. Again, you can do this 10,000 times better than I ever will. I'm not talking junk as in I want to see Chris Jericho like 4 times a year in the ring. He could be on television every week. I don't care. Yeah. He's entertaining. He's good on the mic. He's good on commentary. As a performer, if he wasn't wrestling Takeshita, I might have turned the television off.
Right.
Like Takeshita Takeshita carried that match to the point of, I see why he's in a lot of tag matches now.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad because Takeshita carried it, but Takeshita did a lot of the lifting.
Yeah, Takeshita did a lot of lifting, and again, like I've said before about AEW, this match was like, I looked it up. I think it was like 13 minutes or something. Like,
yeah,
matches don't all have to be 13 minutes. Like they could have had, it could have been 7 or 8.
Easy,
right?
7, yes.
And it would have been fine. And not every match needs to be 15 minutes, right? Like, and this is one of the ones, the point of the match was for Takeshita to beat Jericho. And they didn't need to.
With his own hold at the end. You were right.
Right.
The ending was great. They just could have got there way sooner.
They could have got there faster. And you're right. Jericho doesn't need to be wrestling like a regular schedule on Dynamite. I saw today that someone, I think it was Meltzer, said that Jericho is the highest paid guy in AEW, which is fine. Like he's a big name. That's fine. And maybe he wants to get like Tony Khan wants to get his money's worth by having Jericho wrestle more often. But like you're right. He doesn't need to wrestle. He could be on commentary. He could be doing segments. He could do it. Like he doesn't need to be wrestling every week. He could wrestle once a month or once every 2 months. And it would be fine. Yeah.
And I mean, look what they do with Sting. Sting was in viable storylines pretty much his entire AEW career. I mean, he might have been on a Dynamite at the beginning of the month, and you might not have seen it until the end of the month. But you didn't question it. Right. And, you know, if they did that with Jericho, and again, it doesn't have to be every month he's on twice. Like I said, he could be on commentary, he cut a promo, he can give him a segment, you know, like, you know, let him be an in-ring interviewer or something. Like just because I had so much admiration for him growing up as being like one of my favorite wrestlers. Like I feel bad saying that I think time has passed him up because it makes him and me both get old.
Right.
but it's starting to show, and I don't want him to go through what he had to watch his people growing.
And in AEW, they have such a big roster that some people don't wrestle often. Right. It's fine. Like Darby doesn't wrestle every week.
Right.
He's like 26 years old or something, right? Like he would die if he wrestled every week.
I was just gonna say, he'd just fall apart.
But like you can go a while without having a match. Like, and it's fine because they just have so many guys you wouldn't even it's not to say that you don't miss them, because some wrestlers obviously you like better than others.
Right.
But like Jericho, if he was on once and then didn't show up for a month, like this is not a shot at Jericho. Like it would be fine, and he could come back in a month, and it would be more interesting than if he's on every other week.
And the crowd would go nuts if they didn't hear that song for a month, and then out of left field, it just plays. And
I kind of hope this Don Callis Jericho. I don't think it is, because Jericho likes to have long feuds, but this feud is dull. It's over, right? Like everybody, Hobbs beat Jericho, and then Takeshita beat Jericho. It's over. Like it's over.
I forgot it was still going on until last night before that match. I was like, this is still happening? I forgot it was happening.
Yeah, they don't need to do this anymore.
But yeah, that's the only thing about Jericho.
I think we're gonna get Jericho and Sammy versus Takeshita and Hobbs match, because Sammy came out and was involved. And that's fine. It's a tag match. A tag match. If they made Jericho and Sammy just a team, that would be fine. Like, because then he could still be on twice a month, right? And then the matches would be, he'd have to only do 5 minutes, right? So but you're right. He doesn't need to be like a full-time in-ring guy. And you're right. No, like, not that he's bad at wrestling, just he doesn't need to do it.
He doesn't need to. And there is going to be that match eventually when his opponent has an off night, and it's going to be a stinker of stinkers.
Well, he had that match with Colt Cabana, where, like, he almost died, didn't he? Like, he fell. He almost fell on his neck or something. I forget exactly what the spot was, but
he screwed up the lion salt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so again, you're right. There's gonna be one match where, like, it's not Takeshita, it's somebody else who. Yeah.
Just and it's gonna be like embarrassing for him.
Like, and not just embarrassing. It's just like we've talked over and over again about how he's dull right at this point. Like, I don't want to see him right now.
Exactly.
So if he was around less often, it would be more interesting. So he must realize that. Like, he's not a stupid Like he's a smart wrestler. He knows enough about characters and how to get over with a crowd that he must recognize this.
He is, but he also he has that old school mentality beat in his head that if you're not on TV for 2 seconds, people, who the hell's that? Oh, he wasn't on TV for 2 seconds. That's Chris Jericho. He's been here 25 years. Like, it's they have that weird thing that
and he might have this feeling like, oh, if I'm a wrestler, I have to be a full-time wrestler. I don't want to be a part-time wrestler, right? But
because if you're a part-timer, it's over and blah blah. Like, they have that weird thing where they just can't ever stop. It's odd.
It is odd. Wrestling's an odd industry.
It is, and it like really makes you think like how like most wrestlers be like, oh yeah, everybody here is insane, and it's kind of proving them all right.
Right.
I mean, like there's not many normal.
Like I was thinking about this. It's gonna go off topic here, but I went to the NHL All-Star game last weekend, and they do that thing where they're like, here's the attendance for tonight's game, right?
Yeah.
The attendance was like 18,000, whatever. They're like a complete sellout. And like, I looked at the crowd and it was not. Like there were seats around me that had been empty all game.
Right.
So like, it was not a complete sellout, but like, I know what they mean. All those tickets were sold.
Correct.
And some people didn't show up for whatever reason. Either they couldn't scalp them or they just couldn't make it or whatever. Right. But all the tickets were sold. And that happened and everyone just like cheered. Yeah. And then they moved on. But in wrestling is the only one where like they go, wait a second, what's the turnstile count on this? And we need to know from a Freedom of Information Act how many people were like. Wrestling is the only thing where like I don't know how. Like I watched the hockey game, I don't know how many what the rating for that game was. I have no clue, and I will never look it up. I don't care. But in wrestling, people need to know how many people were there and how many people watched it.
Right.
And then they need to know who was sitting backstage with who. Like only in wrestling, like no one else cares about this stuff in like any other form of entertainment. But like you never hear, okay, they want a movie set together, but is that his real character or how does he act? No, obviously he's acting, right? Like only wrestling has this so many weird things with wrestling where like Jericho probably feels like, oh, if I'm gonna be full-time, I have to be there every week. You think there's movie actors who are like, if I don't do a minimum of 5 movies a year, like they don't care. Right. If you're already like, Jericho's already famous. I get when you're breaking in. You have I have to be on TV all the time so people will start to know who I am.
Right.
But he's already famous. He could be gone for a year and he could show up and people would still go, hey, Chris Jericho, and then be excited. Like he doesn't need to be. Wrestling is such a weird thing. They have this mentality that like, oh, everyone's gonna forget about you. Or you're gonna lose your spot if you're not on TV. But you're not when you get to that point. Like not to talk about WWE because reasons.
Right.
But like The Rock came back and everyone was like excited. They weren't like, who was that guy? Like, no, who he is. Right. Like, Jericho could leave for 5 years and show up and still get a huge pop and people would care. So like, he doesn't need to be, on TV all the time.
Right. And he should be able to just look back when, like, I don't know if he was in between contracts or whenever he worked his first match with Kenny in Japan when he was, I don't know if he was necessarily, his contract was either up with WWE or he was negotiating and they were like, oh no, go ahead and do it. Yeah. Well, there was like, he couldn't do press for that because he was either negotiating or under contract with WWE. I mean, they could put him on the poster and everything, but that match drew because of his name. Like he didn't need to do the press for it. Like.
Yeah. And he must realize that like, when you leave for a long time and people like you get a bigger pop when you come back. Like he's seen it happen. He's like, he must have seen it happen a million times. Even himself, where he was gone for a while and then came back and got a bigger pop. Right. Like,
I mean, just look at the moment when Punk came back. That was a moment. Like, anyways, the main event of the night was the Tornado Tag match with Darby and Sting versus champions Ricky and Big Bill. First and foremost, Big Bill's Boss Man Slam was
incredible.
Probably the best Boss Man Slam I've ever seen in my life. That was awesome.
That was so cool.
The match itself was cool, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It wasn't over the top. It wasn't like a bloodbath. It wasn't like a technical masterpiece. It was kind of all of that. Because it didn't have the blood at the end,
which the end. Oh,
I have to before we get to the end, which I want to talk about, but I want to give AEW, and I think everyone does, give them so much credit for everything they've done with Sting.
Yes,
because it's been what, 3 years, basically 3 years of Sting, right?
Yeah,
and they. First of all, he's done an incredible job. He's throwing himself off balconies and like it's incredible. It's amazing. But like not even the way he retired from WWE, because that was a fluke injury or whatever. You could say, oh, that could happen to anybody, and it could have, right? Like they didn't plan it that way. They didn't plan to have that be his last match, but it was, and whatever. But like just even the way that they positioned him in WWE is like, oh, he's an old guy who's defending WCW's legacy. Like they positioned him as a loser, right? Whereas in AEW, they've given him what he should get. He should get this, like,
totally.
He should be a respected legend. He should be a guy that everybody loves. He should be a guy that everyone wants to wrestle and be around, and he should get this respect. And it's so cool that he got that. Because everyone thought he'd never wrestle again. And not only did he wrestle again, he wrestled some great matches. He got some great moments. He got to be a big deal. He's got to win a title in like his like 10th company or something. Like, it's insane. It's so cool. They've done an incredible job with Sting. And if for all the AEW could have done nothing else right in their whole, but like the way they treated Sting has been so good that that gets them respect.
Yeah,
because they've just done such a great job.
And they're like, did you see? I think it was on. That might have been their Instagram today. It was like. It was like 13,800 and some days was the last time Sting had a title on TBS.
Oh, nice.
I was like, the person went back and figured that out. That's awesome. Like,
and I do like that AEW is kind of like the spiritual successor to WCW. Like, it's obviously not the same company, and it's not. I'm not saying the product are comparable, but like, it's on TBS. It has, some of the same people involved. Like, it is kind of their spiritual successor. So the fact that Sting was like the name in WCW, and now he gets to end his career in like the kind of the new WCW is just so cool for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't write it better, honestly.
Yeah. Even, I don't know if you've seen, I sent you one thing at the shirt they had with the Sting face.
Oh, it's incredible.
Half the Surfer Sting and half the Pro Sting, incredible. There's another one that's like I think it's a remake of like a 1980s Sting shirt. It has like a day glow, like a bright pink and green sort of Sting.
Oh, that's awesome.
It says Sting and it has like a scorpion on it. Like, it's a shirt. It's like, it looks like it's from the 80s. It's so cool. They've done everything they've done with Sting has been incredible.
Do you think we get? Well, first off, do you think we get Surfer Sting in the last match?
I think maybe. I don't know. He doesn't have the hair for it anymore.
Well, I was just gonna say his hair would look really bad dyed bleached blonde, but it would. I don't care if he shaved his head.
It would still be cool. Like, I'd still. It would still be cool.
Yeah, like if he was like, if he dyed his hair, it's like, nah, this ain't cutting it. I'm shaving it. It would still be cool. Now, other end of that spectrum, does AEW make Surfer Sting like a figure?
Yeah, I think you have to.
I think you do too. Like, I mean, they have to. Like, that would be the ultimate send off. You know, have him retire.
I hope his contract is not actually up, or that he gets a new one, because I know he's not going to wrestle anymore. But like, just the cool stuff they've done with him being able to be in the video game, him being like figures, T-shirts, like.
Oh yeah, I hope they keep him around. Like, if there is a such thing as a Legends deal, you know.
Yeah.
I hope they have their version of that to be like, you know, anytime you want anything, like if you just want to come to the show, like.
Yeah, or if they go to, you know, certain towns where he has history, just have him be there. Like, I hope he sticks around, because and I feel like he would, because
I agree too.
They've treated him so well, and I'm sure he knows that. Like, they respect him, he respects them. It's just been so great, and this has all been great.
All been great. And speaking of respect, much respect to not having Ric Flair out there. And I know that was a time we said, like, oh, if he would be winning a title or blah. Now I'm gonna roll my statement back before I even say it.
if the things that happened with Vince and those allegations had not come out I wouldn't have had a problem with him there last night.
Right.
But all those bad allegations come out that, Flair, not in the Vince case, but Flair has been named accused.
Flair's obviously done a lot of
he's been accused
himself.
So yes, having him not on TV that was a very good move by AEW.
And I feel like that was a part of it, right? Like I feel like you're right. If the Vince stuff had not come out, they probably would have had Flair there.
Yeah.
But it was a good call not to have him there because
right. Now
he shouldn't be there.
Agreed. Now obviously, like I said a couple weeks back, they're probably going to have like way more legends at the actual pay-per-view.
Right.
Do you show Flair mixed in with them?
Yeah, during that. Fine. I think like if in like the front row they have Sting's family and then like Ricky Steamboat and
that's what
Arn Anderson or whoever and then Flair's there. Yeah, that's fine.
That's if they would do something like that. Yeah, no microphone after the match. If there's the confetti's out, if they climb over the rail and hugs and
if one final bow before the match or after the match or something. Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
One final bow before
I don't
the Bucks
like
attack
Ric Flair, but it fits. Like it makes sense.
It does make sense. That's the only way I'll accept it. Like he doesn't get a mic, he doesn't get anything.
Yeah, for a while they were having him get his own entrance along with Sting. No, that we don't need.
No, that's over. Thank God.
Yeah.
The heel Bucks before we go.
I have to say, they're winning me over.
I told you they're great heels.
No, but because they're being heels.
Right.
Like I read a review of someone else. First, I loved it. I loved the ending segment. I thought it was incredible.
So good.
It was so good. But I read it was one of those endings where the show is over and I was like, oh, but I want more of that. Like it was good. It was great. I loved it. I thought I don't know if on purpose, like they wore white to get blood on it, or if the blood just happened and they went with it. Because either way, it was great.
Well, there was one, whoever got blood on them first, Matt or Nick. I think it was Matt.
It's Matthew and Nicholas, by the way.
That is true. It's Matthew. They were in the corner, and if like he had Darby by like his hair, and then Darby just leaned forward onto his jacket and like legit just smeared his forehead. And then like Matt like leaned into him and probably was like, dude, do that again. And then he was rubbing it all over his pants.
I'm wondering if it was on purpose. Like they're like, oh, we're going to wear white and you'll blade and then you'll bleed on us. Or if it just worked out. And like, he got some blood on him and they were like, that looks cool. Do it again. Like, I wonder how much that was planned because it was cool.
It was super cool. And I hope they continue to wear the bloody suits.
Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah. That would that. I read someone's review of it online, and it encapsulated, I guess is the word, how I feel about the Bucks, how I feel about the segment. Like them coming out and beating up Darby and Sting, and like making them bloody and beating up Sting's kids, and like that was all cool. It was really cool, and the fact that they then didn't like wink and nod at the camera or make some reference that 20 people in the audience would have like that made it better because they're just jerks. Right. Sting had a great, like Sting when he won the belt. I remember thinking like, why are they taking so long to like give him the title? Because all anyone wanted to see was Sting like raise the title up, and the fact that like we didn't get that because the Bucks attacked him was perfect. Like it's exactly it's exactly what a terrible heel would do. But then they didn't, but then they didn't like I don't know, hold the title up and say like we're gonna watch this on YouTube. Like no, they're just assholes, which is what they're supposed to be. Right. And it was good. I liked it. And there one little where they changed the BTE trigger to the EVP trigger. Oh, that's funny.
That was great.
It was good. I like it. I don't typically like the Bucks characters, but I thought this was perfect. It was exactly what they should have done. It was great.
Yeah. And like they obviously like if Sting wants to lose his last match, they're obviously beating him.
Right.
If he wants to lose, like
I think it's basically up to Sting.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I'm not setting that in stone. Like it's, and I'm okay with it either way. Honestly,
like if he wants to retire undefeated as champion, that's fine. And then just like have Darby pick a new partner or something because he's Sting. He can do whatever he wants.
Yeah. like that. What did we say? Yeah, we had a good thing in our chat. I said someone could pick up, like Sting could retire and then someone could jump in.
Oh yeah, and be his partner. Yeah,
and be his partner. Oh, Okada.
Yeah.
I was like, because that would make sense because the Bucks.
Right, that'd be cool. Yeah.
Oh, so much can happen.
I love that this Dynamite had what a lot of Dynamites don't have. It had a thing that makes you want to watch the next show at the end. A lot of Dynamites end with a match, and then like the match is over, and whoever wins, right?
Yeah.
And the last shot is that person celebrating. And maybe you want to see the next show because you want to see what happens next with that guy or girl, right?
Yeah.
But this had like you want to know what happens next. Like why did the Bucks do this? Yeah. How's Sting gonna respond? How's Darby gonna respond? Like it had like a cliffhanger sort of at the end, which I thought like when it ended, it did. I watched it late, but when it ended, I was just like, I want to see more of this show. Like that's all. Right. That was my first thought was I want to see more of this, and it was good. It was really, really good.
And apparently the Bucks had a segment on Rampage tonight, which I hope they didn't explain why they did it because I'm not watching. But on that note, do you have anything else to add, sir?
No, I'm good. Do you think? Okay. I think it's probably one short thing. We'll talk about it more in the preview show for the pay-per-view. I feel like when we were just talking about this, I feel like the Sting Bucks match has to end Revolution. That has to be the final match of the show.
Oh, absolutely.
And then if that's the case, is the world title going to change hands because it's not the main event? If they're going to give it to Swerve, do they want him to be in the main event?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, that it goes to wherever, again, Sting might want to be first.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like a lot of wrestlers take pride in being like that first match because you do set the precedent.
Right.
That's interesting. I if you could put me on the spot, I say Sting has the main event unless he doesn't want to, unless there's some weird wrestling trope we don't know about. Right. Well, then again, I'll say you could open with the title match then.
Yeah, I think you have to open with one and close with one.
Yeah, because then you're setting the bar and closing the show on high notes. So yeah, I don't know.
And I will say that I like the Revolution. Seems like it's going to be a huge show.
Yeah, it does.
And is that because they haven't had there's been space between these pay-per-views?
Yes.
They haven't had one since December now. Like for a while they were having one every other month. So now it'll be 4 months by the time in between them now. So 3.5 months.
Oh, they're probably gonna go back to every month after that.
Yeah, I feel like they could get away with every 2 months.
Yeah.
And that would be fine. I think every month is too much.
Yeah, I agree. And not just because
not even for like a paying for it. Even if they were all on a streaming service and they were all they feel less special. They feel less important when they're that often.
And like, we always talk about like the booking, like there's time now.
Right.
Like all these things are playing out. Like, Sting's last match, it's, in a few weeks, but there's still a few weeks.
And they built up stuff with the Bucks turning and the Bucks. Yeah, they did. If they had to fit that into a 3-week period, it wouldn't work.
Yeah, like even if they were on every show, in 3 weeks, it's 12 times. You know, and or 6 times, excuse me. And it, 5 minutes each is 30 minutes. Like,
right.
It's, I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like Revolution feels so much bigger because it's had time.
Oh, it's going to be a great show.
It's going to be a really good show.
And I cannot wait.
Very excited.
Everybody, we had some new subscribers last week. Everybody that's new, if you stuck around, welcome. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. We are at Elite City Pod on every social media, minus X. I don't think we have that.
We exist, but we don't do anything.
There you go. So yeah, don't find us there, or find us there, but we just won't. We're there, but we're not there.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for all the kind words and everything. And, again, thank the ladies for last week. It was a killer show and did very well. So we hope we didn't kill that momentum that we had for just the 2-man show this week.
A whole bunch of people are like those guys, and they just closed the app.
The originals are back. Screw that. Yeah. I had to listen to them for 2 years. Anyways, so we're around and we'll be back next week. And next week we're possibly might do a special show. We'll keep you informed.
Yes.
So that's about all we have. So until next week, later.